right on board with Joey Haynes right here, our current leader. It's all going to unfold right in front of them.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's like a video game. Well, I mean, I say that, but you know what I mean. It just zipping past cars. It's like he's playing some arcade game there and just blasting past them one after another as they all wreck around him.
I mentioned how aggressive Hovdal was through the GTO traffic on the lap before, and here he's going to try to go around the outside, which he's already in the dirty air, and just barely hangs on to it. Bill with another poor exit out of turn one. You got to think the over-under has got to be coming at some point, but no. Neil Kemp's going to try the long way around turn two. What a battle here for the 6th place position. Neil Kemp has half a car over Bill Tyler, but they're going to take it side by side into the short break zone. This could be disaster right here, but Bill Tyler thankfully backs out of it.
Will he get both of these spots, or will it be Kimo or Gernot through the first corner, out of that one, and now it's going to be 3 wide as they come up to the next braking zone.
Watch Leno right here. He's going to have the best draft off the back of Kimo, but Gernot's going to take it wide around the outside. He's going to have great traction coming off of this corner.
Who's going to get the exit? That's going to be so critical. Oh, no, banging wheels.
We're almost to that point. Antonio Alvarez is 5 seconds back, so it's only going to be 4 cars. But my goodness, it's a 4-car fight now for the 7th position.
Oh no, this is too wide through the chicane. This doesn't work well. Fabian Jungbluth is going to have to take a course cut. That's going to be a slowdown penalty. Aitor Sintes Galindo keeps on rocking. That's going to be Xavier Sanchez and Ross Banfield now taking it too wide on Aitor Sintes Galindo. He doesn't have a time to breathe out there.
Nobody has a time to breathe. Sintes Galindo fighting off the battle from Jungbluth. Now he's under pressure from Banfield. Xavier Sanchez looking on in the back, and Jungbluth is now caught up because of these guys going too wide. Everyone's a little slow right now. They've lost a full 1.5 seconds to Antonio Alvarez. Now it's almost going to be 3 wide into the braking zone for the next right-hander. And they make a little contact.
Just a little bit of contact puts 2 wheels of Banfield out on the dirt, and the defense of Aitor Sintes Galindo. Write this down. This is one for the ages, folks. He is still in that 7th position.
There's a bear in the woods.
Right, come on you fatty. Come on fatty.
I don't even know who lives in there or what the hell's going on there.
Could I sleep in there today? Oh, no room.
And we're on the way there. Ignore the fart. We go, and a bit of that, and a bit of...
Sangers, James Sangers I've got.
My pedal broke, man.
And thanks to
Sold out, bros!
Mickey's on the most useless street in the world.
Come on!
Always keep a shoe in your kitchen department, guys.
Don't worry, it's the COVID talking. It's probably wild boar, a few bears, a lot of women washing their cars saying hi on the side of the road.
Go on, Mick, feel it, Mick, feel it, feel it.
I might be going mad.
Want to see me underwear?
Johnson's victory at Spa could be a decisive moment with the double points that nabbed him. Even if drop weeks are calculated, he still holds the points lead over Leighton. Will Michael need to limit the damage for the remainder of the season to hold on to it, or will he be able to outpace the current champion? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Mid-Ohio will be far different from the fast-sweeping bends of Spa. Let's take a closer look at this tight and twisty track. Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Located halfway between Columbus and Cleveland, Ohio, this track has become a road racing staple in the Midwest. The full 2.25 mile version is what is most frequently used, but it also includes a chicane layout and a short course. While each one officially has 13 turns, they do have distinct differences. The chicane layout was the only version for the first part of its history, in which the keyhole included a bus stop style back and forth jink on its entry. The short course simply bypasses the whole keyhole section altogether. The various turns have some rather famous names, such as China Beach with its downhill braking, inviting you into its eponymous sand trap, or Madness, which is a single file set of S's with drastic elevation change. There's also the carousel, and this more than 180-degree turn offers a variety of lines that can be taken. Perhaps the most unique feature of the track is that in the real world, starts are rarely taken on the pit straight. Instead, the green flag is given along the backstretch where an extra flag stand sits. Naturally, sports car racing is the main staple of the venue, but motorcycles have a long history here, and in more recent times, NASCAR has started to hold races at the track. It also hosts driving schools and days for amateur racers to get on the circuit. The Buckeye State is often more closely associated with dirt track ovals, but the amount of history and prestige in Mid-Ohio's events make it just as worthy of notoriety in the region. This is one of my favorites, DJ, but then I'm kind of biased because this is my home state.
Well, it is a fantastic track, Joe, no matter how you slice it. Plenty of areas to get it wrong around here, though, as it is a very challenging circuit, especially in the run from China Beach through Madness and the S's and even down through Thunder Valley and into the carousel. The twisty bits on this track are certainly going to catch you out if you are not ready for it. Look for major overtaking opportunities going down into China Beach or maybe into the keyhole, but that's pretty much going to be it. For the most part, the run around this circuit is going to be straightforward, and you are not going to be able to make an error, because if you make the tiniest error around Mid-Ohio, it'll come back to bite you.
No doubt, and everybody is going to be so eager to try and make those passes. Now, before we get to the racing, a reminder that this series is brought to you by Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact today at GameChangerBR.com or 225-664-2565. Now, for that championship, as I mentioned, take a look at the top. We saw this last season, but not quite this large. Michael Johnson, 11 points over Tom Layton, because Tom not only had to miss a round, but had a poor showing back at round 5 as well. And that's kind of put him on the back foot. Now, this is before the drop weeks are accounted for, so it will be a little closer, but it's frankly not by much. We'll see what tonight brings. Michael Bolton, sitting in the 3rd position, right now is 4th in qualifying, which we'll go to in a second. So he's actually been having a pretty good season. As Trinici, who came in late, unfortunately also had to miss last round and finds himself also trying to play a little bit of catch up, but he is currently looking very quick today. From then you've got Jad Duncan and Mark Rondeau very close in a fight behind Trinici, only separated by 2 points between those three. And then it's another 2 back to Jeffrey Shulam, where it looks like it's going to be a very hard fought mid-pack here in the point standings. As for the race details, DJ, it's back to normal.
Yes, it is. It's back to our sprint format here for round 7 of 12. Everybody going to be driving the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, the 992 variant of that car, which means, as we'll talk about many a time, no traction control and no ABS for any of these machines. A 30-minute race. We don't anticipate pit stops and a fixed setup out there, so everybody going to be driving the same thing, which should theoretically even the playing field and making the only real difference the drivers behind the car.
Right now, the driver making that difference is Shinichi. As I mentioned, he's got the pole position over Tom Layton, but that's been going back and forth a little bit. Tom hasn't been able to respond lately and is a little over a tenth of a second behind, but it should be reachable in these final 7 minutes if he feels like he has more pace in the car. But right now we watch Shinichi coming around to complete another lap here, and doesn't look like he's on a flyer, unfortunately. I think he's on one of his cool-down laps, getting this one set up. Johnson's not been faring too bad as well. He sits in third, but has about half a second to catch up to Shinichi.
Yeah, he's got about half a second to make up to him and about 3.5 tenths to try to make up to Tom Layton. So clearly some area to make up. Ooh, is Layton actually just had an off coming through the keyhole. Maybe a little bit of signs for things to come there for Layton as we watch the number 9 machine working its way down through the carousel. Such a tricky sequence of corners here, Joe. The carousel, you've got to be so late on the throttle and then absolutely floor it coming out of that final chicane to be able to make it work. Johnson not going to be able to improve on that last lap, and he's actually going to come out right ahead of Tom Layton.
Okay, so plenty of time left. It's not that long of a lap around here, so you should see a number of more laps from most of the drivers out there. I'm not seeing many able to improve here in the final few minutes of they get 30 minutes actually to try and set their quickest time. So it kind of becomes a little bit of diminishing returns, if you will, by the time they get down here to the end of it. As we watch coming out of the keyhole and down along the back stretch, this is Groff on screen, currently sitting in 5th position. I think this is actually a new driver that we haven't seen before in the series up to this point. I don't recognize the name, and I don't see him on our points tally.
Yeah, Jeff is a new driver, and much as similar was to Andrew Shinichi, putting down some impressive times here earlier on. So always good to be able to see a new name coming on into the Porsche Owners Club and being able to put their way forward. Groff right now, the Californian, just navigating his way through madness, now up through the tricky portion here that leads down into Thunder Valley. Turn 9 there, one of the most difficult corners. You have to absolutely nail the throttle application coming down there, because if you are just at half a centimeter off the racing line or half a second late on the throttle application, you're going to find those rear tires spinning up and you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble.
Comes to the line. Doesn't look like this is going to be a good lap for him. And indeed, he is well off that 24.5. Still sits in 5th place. And if this is his first race, might have another Andrew Shinichi on our hands. Very quick driver who comes in looking fast from the get-go. Meanwhile, jumping back to the 7:28 of Jacob Abrams, who is in 12th spot right now. Back when they had multiple classes in this series, he ran very, very fast in the GT4s, but they are now in the Cup car and isn't quite as quick, about halfway down through the order. We'll see what he has on this time by, as I'm showing him a little bit slow, but sometimes that can be erroneous. And nope, it is wrong, because it's a 24.5, and that's a big jump up to 4th place.
Great lap there for Jacob, and that's going to be just about a half a tenth up on Michael Bolton's time to be able to slot his way into that position. Now he's going to be getting a little bit of help. I think that's going to be Mark Rondeau in front of him. He'll get the benefit of the draft here coming down into China Beach, but after that, doesn't really want to be running that close behind another driver, as he really wants to get clean air on the front of that car to maximize the downforce.
So well done to Jacob Abrams, and that's going to bump Bolton down to P5 now, and he's about a tenth of a second behind Michael Johnson, who has not improved since we started checking in on the qualifying here with our coverage. So he is looking like maybe he's not able to get much more. There he is on screen right now. This lap is definitely an out lap for him, so he'll be trying to start a flyer as he comes through turn 11. Very difficult blind corner, and gets ready to try and square off the carousel to launch across the start-finish line.
All right, let's see what he's able to do. Going to take that out to the maximum effort there on the outside of the circuit. Now going to bring it through turn one, a very tricky corner, and no matter what kind of machinery you are in, just a little bit of a dab of the brakes there, potentially trying to get his way around. Now Michael going to bring his way here into the keyhole, one of the first heavy braking zones on this circuit, and the track breaks away from you there, so you've got to keep it nice and tight and into those curbs.
So far looking decent, but he's not showing as ahead of his quickest time. I can report that Tom Layton might improve by about 2 or 3 tenths, so we could see the pole change hands here, depending on if he can make this final corner good or not. Looked okay to me. He's to the line, and it's a 23.7. That is indeed going to be pole. Shinichi has to respond.
Yes, he does, and he needs about 87 thousandths of a second here, does Andrew Chinichi. I'm not seeing anything, and running off track like that at the exit of the keyhole, that's certainly not going to help him.
He's got enough time. He can get back around to start a new lap, but he's going to want to get those tires cleaned off, and hopefully he has enough left in that rubber. Doesn't look like he's been out for too terribly long, so should be still pretty fresh there as we follow Michael Johnson now up into the final turns, still showing about 2 tenths off of his best time, so I don't know if this is going to do it. And as he crosses, he'll have, I think, about 2 laps left. Yeah, 2 laps left, it looks like, at the most, if he wants it. Last lap was a 24.9. That's about half a second off of his best.
Yeah, about a half a second is what he's going to try to need to improve on here at this point. I'm also keeping an eye on those times for Chinichi to see if he's able to set anything good down right now. I'm not seeing any improvement thus far for Johnson as he works his way through the keyhole. Here's Chinichi coming through the last part of the track, going down through the carousel. Car off in front of him there. That could have slowed him down a little bit. But again, not seeing any green sector times here for the number 3.
Just needs to get the car cleaned off. Remember, he needs to set a new lap from here, and it's going to be his last opportunity. Ed Nelson also started his final flying lap as Shinichi follows him out of that first corner. 8 thousandths of a second, or hundredths of a second, rather. Very close to 9 hundredths of a second, really, but that's honestly very little difference out there for Andrew. All he needs is to make up less than a blink of an eye to try and take the pole right back. Doesn't make up for any bonus points, DJ, but track position here, oh so critical as he parks it.
Oh, he's going to park it. He is going to be resigned to starting no better than P2. Not seeing any improvements here for Johnson, and time ticking away on the clock. I'm not sure he's going to have enough time to be able, I think he might just have enough to be able to get a new one on the board. He's going to cross over the stripe with about 2 seconds to go. Joe, it's now or never for Michael Johnson.
He'll be the last one across the line to be able to start a new lap. Brian Salehi's going to be the first to take the checkered flag, and it's a 24.3. That will jump him up into 4th. Salehi on the last gasp is going to get onto the second row. Molmeyer is next across the line, and don't think he's going to be able to improve. No, he does not.
Now he's going to stay in 17th position there, but a good result for John. Here comes the number 69 machine. This is Matt Hollander bringing the car through the last couple of corners leading up to the carousel in that very familiar Flying Lizard Motorsport livery. He's going to lock it up, go into the outside grass, and that's going to be Hollander's lap done and dusted.
Indeed, Shulam will follow him and stay on the track, thankfully, as he exits out of the final corner, not able to best his 25.0. Behind him, Walsh also unable to go quicker, as Dylan Scott is next, and he does not improve on his 25-second lap. And Michael Johnson approaching quickly. That's Doug Baccignone on our screen. Didn't improve on 13th. Can Michael Johnson somehow find 6 tenths of a second to take the pole?
He was setting a personal best there in Sector 3. I don't know if that's going to be enough, Joe, but he's going to run to the line here. Let's see if Johnson's going to be able to improve. Comes across the line. It's a better time, but not enough to move up the order.
That's got to be frustrating. The top two certainly in a league of their own today, and he's still 4 tenths off, despite knocking off, I think it was about 2 tenths of a second from his best time. Great run from Michael, just wasn't meant to be. And that means that qualifying is now over. And Tom Layton has taken the pole position. Andrew Chinichi, though, is looking like he's ready to challenge him once again for those extra points. And Layton's going to need those to try and catch Johnson now that Michael took the double points win back at Spa. Michael's going to start from third spot as Brian Salehi on his very last lap moved up to P4. Jacob Abrams up to fifth there at one point in the qualifying, as Michael Bolton will start in the sixth spot. Jeff Groff will be in the seventh position. After that, it is Edward Nelson in eighth. Mark Rondeau starts ninth, and Jad Duncan rounds out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it is going to be Federico Toro, then Matt Hollander. Doug Baccignoni lines up in 13th, followed by Jeff Shulam with Dylan Scott and Dhruv Chwala in P16. John Momeyer will roll off 17th, followed by Jim Walsh with Larry Haas and Adam Abrams in P20. Mark Bray rounds out the back of your 20-car field.
Indeed, and I have to say I'm very pleased to see the attendance up after we had only 13 show up for our Enduro last time out at Spa, but they've definitely shown up in force here today for the sports car course here at Mid-Ohio as they get lined up and ready to go. While the conditions are pretty ideal out there, we did hear some of the drivers complaining about the conditions, saying the track for some reason wasn't offering the grip they wanted.
Well, I think part of that, Joe, may be the fact that we're looking at about 84 degrees track temperature. That's a little bit on the cool side when we talk about track temperature. You normally wanted to see it at about 87 to 95. That tends to be perfect. The other thing they're going to have to deal with is look at those winds out of the southwest at 10 miles an hour. That's going to affect the aero on this car, and they're going to have to watch out for it.
I was talking about the points and Chinichi maybe stealing them off of Tom Layton. That's important because it's 20 for a win and 15 for second. So if Tom gets first over Michael finishing second, that almost halves his points distance to him right there. But it is only 3 points between second and third. So even if Tom finishes ahead of him in second and Michael Johnson's in third, it's not as big of a chunk taken out. Remember, it's a short season too, so we can't really waste time. And you're here on round 7, so it's into the second half. It absolutely is still to play for, as it's been brought alive by the double points round back in Belgium. What can Tom Layton do from the pole position? He needs a good jump off the line here. Chinichi is going to try and beat him to that first corner, but can he? As there's the green flag, and they start to accelerate away. Johnson gets a pretty good jump himself, but it looks like he's kind of plugged in there. No place to go, fading off to the racing line. Going to be a nice wide entry for Layton, and into P2, Michael Johnson makes a position early.
Good heads-up move there, using Tom Layton as a little bit of a pick to be able to get his way around. We've got a little bit of jostling there behind Brian Salehi, Jacob Abrams, and now here comes an attack from Chinichi, pushing Johnson out wide through the keyhole.
Oh, and beating and banging between them, and including Johnson getting, I think, a little bit of net code that sends him out into the tire barrier. This is exactly what he doesn't need after his good performance. Chinichi carries on. Salehi moves into third. Abrams and Bolton are still fighting for that fourth position.
They're still side by side going down into China Beach. It looks like Bolton's going to have bragging rights for now, but Abrams very close behind him. I think Abrams choosing discretion is the better part of valor and not wanting to fight too hard too early.
Roughed up not once, but twice in the same corner, and that moves Johnson all the way back to near last place. He's going to be able to go by a few cars.
Oh, Layton off!
Holy cow! No, that's
Salehi.
Salehi.
That's Brian Salehi. That's Salehi. I looked up and saw a black car flying across, and I thought that was our leader, Tom Layton.
Well, that'll give another position to Michael at the very least, but that was a pretty hard thunk into the tire barrier. Seems like a bit of a messy first lap for a couple of our fast front runners, but up at the very top, Layton leads Chinichi and by a healthy gap.
Yeah, he's got about 1.3 seconds already, and that is great news for Tom Layton. What he can do at this point is just settle into the race, let it play itself out, and just drive the track here at this point.
So this puts Bolton into third, Abrams into P4, and Ed Nelson is now kind of hounding Jacob Abrams. What a great run from that 728 here. Good qualifying, has gained a position since the start, and is looking to try and hold on to it for the remainder of this race. Newcomer Jeff Groff just had an off. We don't need to go to it yet, but that was down in the keyhole once again.
Yeah, he found himself off there, and he is going to be well down the order. I show him in 20th position here at this point as they work their way down towards China Beach. Abrams trying to hold off Edward Nelson from behind, and Hollander just kind of keeping in the background there, not lurking too hard, but he's got to worry about Jad Duncan behind him as well.
Yeah, they've basically got a bit of a train starting to form behind Abrams with Nelson. They've got Hollander in there and Jad Duncan, as you mentioned. Mark Rondeau kind of starting to rock up to the fun as they head over the leap and into Thunder Valley once more. It's hard to pass through this section, so as long as Abrams keeps it steady, which you can see a few cars getting loose. And as they now switch back into the carousel, nobody changing positions despite being offline.
No, but it is going to bunch things up a little bit, and I think Nelson is going to know that Abrams might be a little bit susceptible as Leighton sets the fastest lap of the race. They work their way through turn 1 right now. Looks like a pretty decent run there for Edward Nelson. He's going to be putting pressure to the back of Abrams, poking out in line, just trying to fill the rear view mirrors of that 728.
Not going to pay dividends this time up into the keyhole as they all stay single file. A little bit of a wide run on the entry, though, for Jad Duncan as he tries to square it off. Doesn't seem to have gotten him any more speed than those ahead of them. But there is a bit of a slipstream. These cars punch a big hole in the air. Let's see what happens once they reach the end.
Here they come onto the braking zone for China Beach. A little bit of a poke there in the back for Jad Duncan, and that's Duncan getting it wrong, going off into China Beach.
We'll see a lot of that today, I have no doubt. These cars can be hard to stop sometimes, and he is the first to visit, unfortunately. Doesn't hit the wall, but he goes way out there. Whoa, and somebody's spinning behind him. That was Adam Abrams.
And I think Jad Duncan may have been caught up in that, or no, Duncan was already off, excuse me. He's showing off his off track there. Yeah, I thought there was another car maybe brought up in that, but Adam Abrams just having a big problem there. And it looks like a little bit of damage to the left-hand side of the car as well.
So in that, Mark Bray and Larry Haas just got overtaken by Michael Johnson. With those two spinning cars, Johnson is now up 4 spots in this lap. It's been a pretty good one for him. That puts him in P12, still with plenty of work to do. But he's 15 seconds behind the leader. We've seen a lot worse with incidents. I think the fact that he kept the car rolling helped minimize that damage.
Yeah, I certainly think it did. As we take a look a little farther back in the field here at this point, that's Larry Haas and Mark Bray really duking it out down into turn 1. And this is going to be behind Michael Johnson, so that's not going to help him that much. But I think the more cars like this battle all the way through the field, that's just going to help Michael maybe gain a position or two as he continues to go and try to gain those positions back.
No doubt. He'll be looking for drivers to really be going off against each other as we come down the backstretch into China Beach once again. Haas looks clear, but we got to make sure they both make it through the corner because we had 2 in quick succession, and yes, they find the apex.
All right, they're going to find it and be able to get themselves around about 6 minutes down in this race at this point. Looked like there for a second, Bray was going to try to take a little bit of a poke around the outside of the corner, but that didn't play itself out. I think, Joe, most of the drivers here at this point starting to settle into the rhythm of this race and the rhythm of this circuit, and that's really going to be what comes to the fore here. Whoo, big wiggle from Matt Hollander.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to send it a little wide into the carousel because of that. You can see Nelson in front of him still doing what he can to try and get into the head of Jacob Abrams, but he's not relinquishing the position yet. A lot of the race yet to go. And he's going to have to really do his best to try and withstand this pressure. We had a bit of a blink from Tom Layton, but if that's the worst of his worries, it's not too bad as well. Here goes a dive up into the corner. Oh, Chinichi is around, and he just got hit by Michael Bolton.
Oh my goodness gracious, tries to get back on the track, almost makes contact there with Doug Boccignoni. This is disastrous for Andrew Chinichi.
Wow, it really is kicking off here, as that means that Layton now has a 7-second lead because Bolton had to check up there. Some drivers fighting in front of them down into the corner. That's going to be Hollander still trying to get the spot away from Nelson. He was on the attack into the keyhole, and it carries on multiple corners later down into madness as it weaves back and forth, and he gets fed out finally as Matt Hollander will get that 4th position.
Just sheer tenacity there for Hollander, and now he's going to be able to put his sights ahead on the back of Jacob Abrams, but he's going to have about a second to try to make up, and he's not really going to have too much of a benefit of the draft here at this point, as this is a relatively low draft circuit. The only area you're really going to be getting that is going down the run from the keyhole into China Beach.
Tom Layden could not have asked for a better gift today. His main points rival is off, and the driver that has been the biggest threat to taking wins away from him has fallen down the order as well. He's got a monster gap up at the front. Basically, all he has to do is manage this race from here.
Yeah, and manage this race, and frankly, Joe, pray he doesn't come up against some lap traffic that could force him off a little bit. I can tell you Shinichi was able to just gain a position over Dylan Scott. As there, we take a look a little farther back down in the field. That's one of those wounded cars, it looks like. Is that?
That's Bolton.
That's Bolton. Yeah, it was some pretty hefty damage.
He ran into the side of Shinichi when he spun. Not sure if he elicited the spin, but he did make contact at some point in there, and that has definitely done quite a bit on the nose of the car. We'll see whether or not he'll be okay. We've got a replay, and this, this is all by himself. There's nobody around him.
No, he just lost that on his own here at this point. He tried to bring it back around, and there you see Bolton really left with nowhere to go as Shinichi just tried to port that back around.
Yeah, it's a bit of a blind corner through there, so that's probably why he didn't see him in time as he went over the apex. As Larry Haas has found himself off of madness and is going to get back onto the course, but falls to 19th. It seems like today is going to be all about who can make the least mistakes.
Well, that's so often what is the case here at Mid-Ohio, as there we see another driver that looks to be the 83 machine of Chad Duncan getting it wrong, coming down through Thunder Valley. One of those areas that I talked about, Joe, that you've got to be absolutely pixel perfect through. Otherwise, you find yourself in a world of trouble.
Yeah, he fell a long ways down. Back to Johnson. He's been fighting with Shulam for a couple laps now. Last time, nearly went around the outside. This time, it's not nearly. He does go around the outside. That'll put him into P11. Shinichi, even with his issue, didn't fall back as far as the number 9. He's still in 8th place, so just about 2 positions up the road.
Yeah, and I think that could be a good battle that we see play itself out here in the final 20 minutes or so of this race, as I think we're going to see Johnson, we're going to see them, but a little bit of side-by-side up in the front there. That's Hollander. Edward Nelson trying to take a look at him through madness, but Hollander rebuffing him.
He wants this 4th place, but the good news for Jacob Abrams is those drivers fighting has basically given him a lot of breathing space. Abrams in a podium position right now is looking quite excellent. I need to check and see if he's had a podium yet this season.
I'm not sure if he has. I don't believe so off the top of my head, but I'll let you consult the official book there to be able to check it. But yeah, very good run here for Abrams and looking pretty solid. I mean, he's got a 2-second advantage over Matt Hollander. And at this point, Bolton is wounded. That car is limping a little bit. I've been watching the turn in on the car, and it looks like there may just be a little bit of damage to it. But this battle right here between Hollander and Nelson, this is one that's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, if I'm seeing correctly, Abrams' best finish so far this season is an 8th place or thereabouts. Might even be a 9th place. Yeah, because that was double points. So yeah, I think a 9th place finish for him, unfortunately. So this is going to be a much needed shot in the arm for his run and boost him up the points significantly as we watch them come through madness once again, especially if he can chase down Bolton with his damage. Maybe he's even got a shot at 2nd.
He very well could. We'll have to see what plays itself out. Bolton has been doing a pretty decent job of keeping that car on pace, but I think as the tires start to wear a little bit more, we get into this race, Bolton could find himself in some real problems, specifically hunting for that front grip on the car.
Yeah, this is a car that already doesn't have a whole lot there on the front end of it as they head through the carousel. The bad news for him is that Shinichi is actually starting to catch that group behind him So he's not too terribly far away. I don't think it's out of the question that Andrew could maybe fight for a podium here if his pace is still good.
If he's able to keep that car going, he most certainly could. I mean, he is going to be faster here than Boccioni and Rondeau, and once he's able to get by them, it's able to go 1, 2, 3 and just close in on the back. The big question here for me is he going to be able to close the gap up to Jacob Abrams or not?
Exactly, with that gap up between Hollander and Abrams, there's some work to do for sure. Johnson just got another one. Dhruv Chawla overtaken by the number 9 now. So 2 very good chargers up through the field after early issues for the pair of them. And a little bit of a look from Chawla. Don't think he's going to get there. No, he's going to have to stay patient as somebody smoked him up down into the corner.
I think that may have been Dylan Scott directly in front of Michael Johnson there. I was kind of watching him out of the corner of my screen, and just a little bit of front brake lockup, not nearly enough to send the car shooting off into China Beach, but he'll have to be able to be a little bit careful about that. You block up the brakes too much, you're going to overheat the tires and find yourself in real problems. One problem, though, that Tom Layton's not going to have to deal with, that is the lapped car of Adam Abrams, able to get on by him nice and cleanly.
And it's a long ways up to the next one, which is going to be Larry Haas. Yes, this isn't a very long track, but seems like traffic has not been that great of a problem because they're mostly concentrated in that 4th through what is now 8th kind of battle that's going on there in the mid-pack. So Tom Layton just kind of running his course and seeing what he can do from here as we watch Bolton up into the keyhole with Abrams now only 0.7 of a second behind him, checking to see if he's been consistently quicker here. A little bit. It's been small margins, it looks like.
Yeah, just sort of infinitesimal margins. On lap 8, it was about a 1/4 of a tenth, and then on the last lap, it was a full 1/10 of a second. So he's slowly but surely gaining in here. I think, though, if you are Jacob Abrams, you'd like that to be a lot more. We'll have to see how it shakes itself out.
Yeah, you see that big chunk on lap 5. That was when the contact was made. And then, of course, in lap 7, had quite the inroads, too, as we follow them up and over the leap, and Shinichi just got a spot.
Yes, he did, able to get it by Doug Boccioni, and that's going to put Shinichi up into P7, and right in the midst of that battle that we had been talking about, Shinichi now coming onto the back of Mark Rondeau. I think it's pretty easy to say here at this point that he'll be able to catch up to the back of Edward Nelson at this point and be able to find himself up into the top 5. Once again, though, that podium going to be a little bit hard to get, but Shinichi's going to need to make those moves very, very quickly.
Salehi had a similar incident to what happened at the start of the race, and this time it bit him too hard. He took a tow. Let's take a look and see what happened to what seemed to be a pretty fast driver this week. As we're going to check it out in a moment because Shinichi is keeping us on our toes. Same thing with Mark Rondeau in front of him, just making him watch the mirrors.
Yeah, very, very much so. Shinichi now going to get the benefit of the draft here right behind Mark Rondeau. Shinichi fading off to the right-hand side of the track a little bit. Let's see what Rondeau decides to do if he's going to go defensive. A little bit of side-by-side up ahead of him. That's going to be Hollander and Nelson going at it down into the corner, locking it up. Getting it wrong is Edward Nelson. That's one way to get a position if you're Andrew Shinichi.
Indeed. So just getting shoved off there a little bit by Matt Hollander. Heard some radio chatter. Didn't seem that he was terribly happy with that as he'll get it back on the track. Oh, and another bit of contact. Shinichi this time is going to be the one shoving cars out of the way. Rondeau off into the kitty litter. He keeps it out of the wall just barely. Oh, he glances it, but he should be okay.
He should be able to get his way back out on track, but that is a tough break there for him. He was having such a great run over the course of this race, and he now finds himself all the way back down in 11th position. Also off in through China Beach looks like John Momeyer.
Yeah, it's having trouble getting the car to accelerate in the grass there, and finally finds his way back to the pavement. Well, the claws seem to be out as drivers are certainly taking no prisoner here at the halfway point of the race. We're going to take a look at Salehi's incident first and then check out some of the others. I've done this so many times, just touches the grass there.
Yeah, he just tracked a little bit too far to the outside, trying to run the car down into turn 9. And this is what happened going down into China Beach in front of Shinichi. As there you see the side-by-side, maybe a little bit of contact there with Nelson. I couldn't really tell from that angle, but one way or the other, the result is the same, Joe, and he's off into the kitty litter.
Yeah, we're going to watch it one more time from a different angle here. Let's see. They're very close on the way in. Yeah, hard to tell from that side, unfortunately. But it did look like he bumped him a little bit, and then there was more contact shortly after between Shinichi. This definitely was contact between these two right there.
Yeah, Shinichi tried to go for it. It looked like there a little bit that he just tried to cover him off. It did Rondeau, and then was just enough to get the two to go into the side of one another. Very unfortunate, as that was a great little battle that we were seeing play itself out.
So now Hollander still in P4, but Shinichi right behind him in 5th. They've lost a lot of ground to Abrams because of all that fighting. And behind them, wow, Doug Boccignone suddenly sees Michael Johnson right on top of him because of the lap traffic. He's going to go to the inside. Johnson tries to play it safe and doesn't force the issue. Adam Abrams going to allow them both through. Here's another bite at the apple, though. It's a great run up the hill.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you can see already that Boccignone going defensive. That's going to be Johnson trying to force it around the outside here a little bit, trying to make it work. He tries to get the run off at the corner. It's not going to work. He's going to tuck back in behind, get a little bit more of the draft, and try this again into China Beach.
He's got a good chance of it. If he can just make it through the braking and hold around the outside of the first apex. Let's see. Boccignone fights him hard. He's got a bit of a nose ahead, but that starts to change now. Back to the inside here for Johnson. A little bit of a hip check, but he's through.
All right, that's Michael Johnson back up into 6th place. He's got about 4.9 seconds to try to close down to Andrew Shinichi in 5th place, up ahead of him. And Shinichi, meanwhile, is all over the back of Matt Hollander.
Yeah, he wants that spot as quickly as possible. He's already lost 18 seconds now to Leighton. Remember, it was about 15 earlier on. I think even 11 at one point. And it's all kind of going awry in hopes of trying to maybe catch a win. Don't know if he's got enough to try and run down Abrams, if he can overtake Hollander for that matter. Other drivers seem to be having problems getting by the 69.
Yeah, really and truly just putting up a good defense here as Matt Hollander. He's been stuck behind him for the last couple of laps, really, as they go. And it's been very, very impressive here to see him put up a good defense. And he's not running super defensive, Joe. He's just running quick laps, and that's enough to be able to keep Shinichi at bay for the last couple of laps.
So far, but he's going to have to do it for a number of more laps if he wants this P4. And clearly both of them are in no mood to mess around. They are basically on a mission out here to try and make up for lost time. And he's very good under braking as Shinichi down into China Beach, but it doesn't get him the spot yet. He's still spinning up the wheels as he tries to accelerate over the crest and nothing doing.
Nothing doing, but he is pushing like the Dickens here at this point. He's got to be careful he doesn't spin those rear tires up too much, as that could cause a big problem. He could overheat those rears and completely lose grip with it. He's doing a good job here at this point, but the way Hollander is protecting and defending here and really just being able to be a cork in the bottle, I think we're going to see a little bit more aggression here out of Shinichi in the last couple of laps.
Sticking his nose in. He's getting close to the bumper of this car. Is he going to move him, or is he going to try and get it clean this time? Defensive move at first from Hollander, just putting himself slightly off the racing line to dissuade Andrew Shinichi, who doesn't try it down through the first turn. Doesn't look like the best of exits coming up to the keyhole. Maybe he's looking for a wide run here.
He is going to take a little bit, call it about a half a lane wider line. He's really going to be able to diamond off the exit, but that lost him time, Joe. That didn't look like the best run there for Shinichi, and he's going to have to gather it back up under him and try a different tactic here in the final 9.5 minutes.
And here's the other fly in the ointment. They've got about 3 seconds back to Michael Johnson. If they start fighting, you know Johnson's going to be on that. He's very savvy. Whoa, that was too deep for Shinichi. He's using up his stuff, and it's starting to look like the car doesn't have the grip he wants.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. Oh, almost coming into the back there of Madness, going into the back of Matt Hollander, and he's going to have to back off a little bit. He lost about 3/4 of a second through that section of the track because he was a little bit too aggressive.
Make that 2.7 seconds down to Johnson. He is gaining time hand over fist, and you know he's fired up, having been bumped off at the very first lap. He could have a chance at getting up into 4th position, maybe even Abrams himself, and getting back to the podium to limit the damage here. Unfortunately, will almost nearly erase his lead over Tom Layton. We'll see what happens with it if the drop points are... Oh, as Layton himself is having problems. We've seen this a couple times this season, making uncharacteristic mistakes, and he went off in the keyhole.
Oh my goodness, maybe just a little bit of sort of mental error there, and now his gap's going to be down to 8 seconds, but we've got side by side between Hollander and Shinichi coming down the back straightaway.
With lap traffic in the way as well, trying to get the draft off of him. Shinichi pulling everything he can to try and get the advantage as they come up into the braking side by side once again. Shinichi the long way around. He holds tough. He's going to have the inside as they approach Ed Nelson, who's a lapped car. This could be a problem for both of them. Once again, the rear wheels just do not want to get a grip for Andrew.
No, they don't. I think those rear tires are overheated, and he is really running into problems here at this point. He now, although good news for him is that Hollander's going to find himself plugged up behind Nelson. Could this be the opportunity finally for Shinichi?
It's down to 1.7 seconds now for Michael Johnson. He's coming in a hurry, and they're both just no place to go here, unfortunately. Nelson running his line. He's not obligated to pull off and let them through, and he's trying to run his own race. In fact, he's the last driver racing right now.
Yeah, he is, and now it looks like he's going to just hold that line once again, as he wants to do. He's going to force Hollander to try to go very aggressive into turn 1. That's going to force Hollander to back off a little bit, and now is Shinichi going to get the run out of the first corner?
So they come down into the keyhole. He's actually covering the inside a little bit here, and that's going to open the door. There goes Shinichi down to the inside, and it looks like he might be able to get the position. He's going to have to out-drag him off the corner, which he does. Now, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Ed Nelson that got bumped off by Hollander?
It may have been. Yeah, there could be a little bit of retribution there. Although it doesn't look like Ed has any desire to let Shinichi on through. There he goes, though. Shinichi being very, very aggressive, clobbering the curbs coming up through China Beach. And now a little bit of side-by-side in contact there between Nelson and Hollander.
Think they get away with it. Oh, and he's going to have a little secondary contact, and that spins him. That gives a position to Michael Johnson. He's up into 5th as Hollander down to 7th. Baccignone picks up a spot.
He's going to pick up a spot there as they run across the line, and we take a look, looking back down through the order as they continue to go. Oh, my goodness. Johnson now all the way back up into P5.
I'm going back to check myself to see if that was actually the one that was pushed off there. And Duncan's now had a problem as well. Jad not having the best of days. Started in 10th, and he's down 5 positions, about to lose more.
Yeah, he's about to lose more here at this point. A rough run there. Looks like Adam Abrams has also had a little bit of a problem farther back down in the field. Now we take a look, though, as Michael Johnson tries to run down Andrew Shinichi. This is just going to be a straight-out battle here. The gap's only about 1.1, 1.2 seconds in between the two, and with 5 minutes left to go, this is one of our closest ones out on track.
It's the battle of the scorned drivers here, both trying to come back up through the field. And does look like Michael is still gaining on him. In fact, I think Shinichi's slow. Michael's going to get him almost with ease down into China Beach. Did something happen to the number 3?
It must have. I'm not sure if he just got a bad run. Maybe those tires are absolutely shot at this point, Joe, and he just couldn't get grip off the corner.
I can't confirm that it was Nelson that was bumped off by Hollander, so I never like to speculate on those things, but that didn't feel like he was doing any favors to Hollander through there. So I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he definitely wasn't sending him Christmas cards here as they head up over the crest of 11 with 4 minutes to go. Can Shinichi get the car under control? Can he get those tires back where he wants them in time to get 4th back from Johnson?
Well, let's see. He's got to drive a little bit calmly here for the next couple of corners, try to get those temperatures back under control, and then he can launch an all-out assault onto the back of him. But if they're overcooked at this point, he's going to find himself in very, very tough running.
And Jacob Abrams is 8 seconds ahead of these guys. There have been so much drama back here that basically Jacob has been running a nice, calm race to what is going to be a well-earned podium. If he can keep the mistakes away, that might be a hard ask in itself based on how many oopses we've had from the other drivers today.
And there have been a fair share of those oopses. I can tell you, by the way, track temperature has diminished a little bit. It's down to about 83 degrees Fahrenheit out on track, so that could be some good news for Shinichi. It does look like he's able to keep his way behind Johnson right now. He's going to have a little bit of a look there coming through Madness, just trying to keep that door open as much as possible. It looks like he's got the car underneath him to be able to drive here. Let's watch the way it handles, though, coming down into Thunder Valley. A little bit of wheel spin there, but still a pretty good line. I don't think those tires are shot.
Maybe he's got him back in working order now as he's still crawling all over the back of Michael Johnson. Not even going to be a podium at this stage as he leaves the door open just a little bit, and he gets a nudge as Shinichi once again is using up the bumper.
Yeah, he certainly is. Just a little bit of a wiggle there for Michael Johnson, but he was able to hold it. Shinichi now taking a little bit of a half-hearted look down into the inside, trying to see if he's able to get that to run. Shinichi going to push here. Now he's going to do a little bit of off-tracking as there he goes across the dirt. Here he comes. Not close enough down into the keyhole, but he is going to keep the pressure alive.
We have to remember, there is a 17 incident limit for this series before they get a penalty. They'll get a drive-through, and a 34X will actually be a DQ. So they can't beat and bang too much out here. Yes, they are fendered cars, and clearly they're very hardy cars, but this has been a rough one.
Yeah, this has been one of the more feisty races that we've seen from the Porsche Owners Club. It certainly is a little bit of a tough running here for a lot of them. It is definitely a little bit tough there. Just trying to poke his nose to the inside, seeing if there was going to be a door open. Was Andrew Shinichi. He is trying every opportunity available to him.
And don't look now, but Doug Baccignone is looking pretty darn fast. He is only 1.2 seconds behind them and could become a factor in it. And then right behind him, Matt Hollander hasn't lost all that much time either, so this could get quite spicy. We do still have 2 laps to go here as they cross the line.
Yeah, 2 laps to go. By the way, just to give you an idea of how far out into the lead Tom Layton is, he is coming out of the keyhole right now as we watch Johnson and Shinichi crossing over the start-finish line. Layton just doing what Layton does. He's got that gap back up to nearly 12 seconds over Michael Bolton.
And it's 21 seconds down to Michael Johnson and Andrew Shinichi right now. They've been so tangled with each other. Whoa, Shinichi made a move and he overshoots it. He's not going to make it out into the dirt, but it looks like Doug Baccignone will, and he'll lose valuable positions. That is a shame. He was running a good race and almost spins it trying to return to the track. So Hollander will gain 6th spot, and Shinichi has to make up about half a second.
Yeah, he's going to have to try to be able to push his way up ahead here at this point. I think Baccignone just had a little bit of incident fixation there. Here's another good battle farther back down in the field. Oh, Shinichi spun! Shinichi is spun coming through Madness.
Oh, finally used it up too much, and he's going to try and back it up onto the track. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. Okay, there we go. He'll whip it around, and he'll fall to 11th. That's a real shame. He had a pretty hard fight. As rough as it was, I felt like he at least deserved a top 5 there. As Layton takes the fastest lap of the race with 1 to go now. Again, no bonus points for that one out there. Oh, something happened to Bolton. Did Bolton just lose his 2nd place?
It was just internet issues. He's back in. That was...
Yeah. I was like, oh, no. Michael's been so calm and collected out there. He does have Abrams closing in on him still, but that's been building. Oh, Abrams, hold on to it. So many drivers giving us scares here at the very end of this race.
And it's all down into the keyhole, Joe. I would have expected those errors, frankly, coming down into China Beach, but I think drivers just looking for the overtake going into the keyhole and getting it wrong.
By the way, Andrew Shinichi's spin gave him a black flag. I was giving warnings about that, and apparently he did not pay heed. So with 1 to go, he has to serve it now, and he is down into the lane. But this man, Tom Layton, took the pole position, and at times at the start, it looked like maybe there were those who could hold on to him, but it was not meant to be because, yes, he made some mistakes, but not nearly as many as his rivals today, and that made the difference as he strikes back with a victory today at Mid-Ohio.
Tom Layton doing exactly what he needs to do to try to fight back in this championship and holding a nearly 13-second advantage over Michael Bolton, as Bolton is going to bring that wounded car home to the line to come home P2.
I should be happy about that as he weaves in celebration. Abrams with a podium for the first time this season and a vast improvement as Johnson will climb back to fourth. He actually only lost one position from where he gridded in the end.
That's a pretty impressive run there for Michael Johnson, especially considering just how dire it looked at the beginning of the race as we watched Jeff Shula being able to hold off an attack from Jeff Groff to cross over the line. That'll be 8th and 9th.
And Rondeau going to finish in 11th behind them. That's going to be the last of our battles. Shinichi will not see the checkered flag. He decided to park it with that black flag, unfortunately. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, Round 7 of the Porsche Owners Club Series C's Tom Layton get another victory. It's going to be his 4th of the season to help him get back into the hunt. Michael Bolton finished P2 behind him with Jacob Abrams finishing 3rd. Those two close at the line as Jacob kept him honest. And then Michael Johnson had a bit of an unfortunate bump at the start. I think it was some net code to kind of send him off the track. He fought his way back, quite literally, up to that P4. As Matt Hollander, also fighting hard today, went from 12th to 5th. You got to give him credit because he also climbed quite a bit, and Drew Chala followed him as he went from 16th to 6th, up 10 positions. Dylan Scott was 7th today as Jeff Shulam finished P8, and Jeff Groff eventually came back. His first race wound up with the 9th, and Doug Baccignone finished P10.
In 11th, it was Mark Rondeau, followed by Mark Bray and Larry Haas. And then we have Andrew Chinichi, who finished a lap down. They're retiring from the race. The first of your drivers a lap down. Momeyer and Walsh also one lap down. Then we get into some drivers that had problems out there today. Nelson, Duncan, Abrams, Salehi, and Del Toro, a DNS on the day, unfortunately.
Well, we're waiting to see if we can get one of our drivers in. Usually we have some of them to chat to. I have to imagine after the drama we saw today, we'll get a few that'll want to talk to us about that. This was not the track that I expected to have that crazy of a race for and that many overtakes as well.
Nor I, Joe. I mean, we're used to seeing this track eliciting some errors out of drivers. That's really what I expect from it, but I did not expect anything nearly that catastrophic, and that elbows out from the entire field.
Gave us a lot of fun, and it didn't give Jacob Abrams as much of it. He came up to the front early on, but he got himself a podium with it. Jacob, it's been a long time coming for a good finish in this series this season. Your first podium, how does it feel?
Feels good to be back on the podium for sure. I mean, I really haven't been practicing at all this season, so my focus this race was just stay consistent and stay out of trouble, and paid off. And I thought I might have had a shot at getting second off of Bolton, but it wasn't to be. But good race anyway.
And that all kicked off from a 3-wide moment there. Basically, I think it was on the first lap or something going into the keyhole. So much happened. I'm trying to check through my notes here. And you were, I believe, involved in that 3-wide. What was going through your mind in that moment?
I was the meat and the sandwich there. I was in the middle of it all, and I backed out of it because I had a feeling that all three of us were going to crash out if I kept my foot in the throttle. So I just backed out and let the other two guys by. And one of them spun off into the weeds, and the other one, I think was Bolton, got through safely, and I just tucked in behind him because I knew that was a wrong place, wrong time kind of position in the keyhole, so I wanted nothing to do with it.
And that turned out to be an excellent choice in this situation. Next time out, it's going to be Watkins Glen. Can you keep this momentum up?
We'll see. I mean, Watkins is one of my favorite tracks, and I've got a lot of time there and a number of cars. So hopefully I can maybe get a little practice ahead of it this time, and maybe fight for first or second. We will see.
Well, congratulations on a podium, and we do hope we'll get to talk to you some more.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Jacob Abrams with a third-place finish behind the man that he mentioned just a bit ago. DJ's caught up with Michael Bolton.
Well, Michael, it was a great run out there for you to be able to claim P2, and I want to start by asking you, you had some damage on the car. How much was that affecting you as you ran around?
Oh, what's up, guys? That was a pretty nerve-wracking race, to say the least. I felt good. I had good quality pace, and the aero damage I had in the front really kind of killed me. I could definitely feel Jacob coming up and just tried to drive the balls off this thing, and I guess it ended up working out. The tires started to go at the end, and then I think Jacob was probably feeling the same thing, but man, P2 feels good.
Well, I'm sure it does. I mean, talk to me just how much you were having to look in the rearview mirror and cover that off, because I'm sure Jacob was just giving you an absolute hassle out there.
I mean, if I could make my virtual mirror any bigger, I probably would have made that full screen and just had a very small window looking forward. The entire time I was looking in my mirror, looking at the relative, just trying to see. And I know the gap was kind of 2 seconds and then 1 second, and just tried to just absolutely give it everything. And, just with a unsafe rejoin like that, it made things just that much more difficult, but happy to get P2. Really happy.
Well, I've got to ask you, we head to Watkins Glen next, another great American racing circuit. Are we going to be able to see you carry on your podium ways there?
Man, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it my all. I'm really looking good for a championship podium in this one, which is what I'm really going for. So, fingers crossed. Just gotta break early, break often, and stay on the track.
Well, Michael, I wish you all the luck in the world, but a second place here tonight, who makes it possible? Who do you want to thank?
Thank you. Definitely going to give a big shout out to the birthday girl and fiance, Gabby, my dogs, Hamilton and Monkey, GSRC. Thank you so much, guys. The Porsche Owners Club, Speed Gallery, Pineapple Grips, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll see you, Michael. That was Michael Bolton, your second place finisher here tonight, Joe.
And we've got fourth place finisher Michael Johnson ready to talk to us about that charge back through the field. Michael, we made such a big deal in the pre-race about you had taken the points lead over Tom, and you had a good gap. You just maybe need to try and manage that points gap for the rest of the season. I'm guessing the last thing you wanted was being shoved off into the barriers on the first couple corners.
Yeah, that was an interesting little entry in there. I saw Andrew behind me and was like, oh, well, we've got 3/10, 4/10. He's not going to try to do that. Well, he did, so much to my surprise. And then we ended up playing pinball a little bit. And, then I would think I was next to last. But I got to say, I had a blast coming back through the field. And I also got to say, it wasn't easy. I mean, nobody was like, oh, yeah, sure, come on by. The guys that I coach, the people that I've worked with, I mean, they're racing me. And they were making me earn those passes. So I guess I went from third to second on the opening lap and then down to, 20th and then back to fourth. So I feel pretty good about that.
I think you should. Now, you were making all those great passes, and then suddenly you come upon Andrew Chinichi. Were you surprised to see him so quickly?
I don't know what happened. I was actually just scrolling back through trying to watch replay on the race to see what happened to him, but I knew that he was stuck behind Matt. And having been stuck behind Matt before, I felt like I had a reasonable chance to catch back up because Matt defends like he's guarding a big giant pile of gold. I mean, he really does a great job defending. He's so hard to get around. And I think I got lucky that he had a little contact with a back marker where I was able to just zip right by him and then go catch Andrew. But then I think Andrew felt bad about the contact on that first lap. So when we came back around Keyhole, I was right up behind him. I'd closed it up and then he just pulled right. And then he stuck under my wing. So he was keeping me honest.
He was indeed. You know, if Matt's always guarding gold and he's got the flying lizard livery, we need to start calling him the dragon, I think.
Yes, that would work. He definitely is the dragon there. He's guarding the gold for sure.
Well, man, just an impressive drive all around, and congratulations on it and getting up to fourth and doing what you can with what was a bad situation. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you at Watkins Glen.
Probably not. I'm having a major surgery on my spine. Oh, that's right. So I don't know that I'm just coming off a surgery on my knee. So I feel even better about being as far up as I was. But I've got a major surgery on my spine. I'm going to be lucky to be walking in 2 weeks. So we'll see how it goes.
Best of luck. Sending good thoughts your way on that surgery. And thanks for coming and chat with us.
Thank you.
Michael Johnson finishing P4, which is going to close us out. So a big thank you once again to the sponsors. Porsche, there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or 225-664-2565. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next time out, as we mentioned, is going to be at Watkins Glen, Monday, April 10th at 11 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed on your screen. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.